Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 160 or 171, I believe. I'll double check of the Immigration Lawyers podcast. Yeah, it is 171. Today, we're going to do an agency update covering from December 29th to today when this is recording, February 15, going through the news and giving my thoughts, opinions, and some piece of information, help you guide you on what's going on in the fast-paced world of immigration law. But before we start, I have some big news. Today was the launch, President's Day. I said it. Just randomly happened like that. The launch of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine, the first ever trade magazine for immigration lawyers. We have tons of articles in there from our great colleagues, a lot of helpful information. If you want to read it, just go to www.immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/magazine, or just go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. There'll be the magazine tab there. You can open it up. It's like 78 or 80 pages of magazine. It took a lot of time. There's a lot of details involved with publishing magazines. I'm excited about going to issue number 2 and special editions, all this kind of stuff. It takes a lot of time to do. So please read it and let me know what you think. It's going to be a work in progress to make it even better, but I think it came out really good. And I want to thank everyone involved, and I'm going to be doing interviews with everybody. The cover is a really a homage to the great work we do as immigration lawyers together. And this project, the magazine itself, is a representative of that. But please check out the magazine, issue 1 of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine. You'll find a lot of good information there. Secondly, if you are listening to this wherever you are, please do leave a 5-star review. It helps out a lot for other people to learn about the things I'm doing and the projects that we have and all that kind of stuff, to help, just promote, to make everyone know more about the industry. Next, I want to thank the sponsors for the magazine, actually. Journey, Business Plans, Immigration Finder, great help in learning how to market and run your law firm, your immigration law firm specifically. Also want to thank ImmiTranslate. And our main sponsor has always been supportive, which is DocketWise, the immigration form, CRM, and much more software. They actually announced an integration with another one of our colleagues, Jared Jascott, with Yotango Bot. He has the bot system that allows people to communicate with a robot to do the initial kind of conversations. And DocketWise is doing integration with them to help better your operations so you can make more money, less overhead, more money in your pockets. DocketWise also has a great program where they have a 10% additional discount to their annual price. Just go to www.docketvise.com/immigration-lawyers-podcast and use the code Immigration Lawyers Podcast to get that discounted annual plan. It's the plan that I use. I have the annual plan, so I definitely am happy to help anyone else get some discounts on it too. The DocketWise guys and people are a really good team, and I really appreciate everything they're doing and how dedicated they are to just growing their product to make it better and better every day. Let's see what else. So this is not legal guidance. This is intended for general information only. If you had any questions or want to talk or article submission ideas, if you want to be a sponsor, just email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. And I guess one last plug is the Champions for Freedom program. There's addition to that one too, actually. But if you're trying to figure out what's going on in immigration law, how could you do it? Especially the basics, which is the marriage immigration case, which talks about inadmissibility, adjustment of status, consular processing, affidavit support, the contract, how to talk with the client, consultation. I have a jam-packed course, 12 hours of recordings plus some one-on-one sessions with me. Just email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com if you have questions about the Champions for Freedom program, and we can talk about it there. And also, we have a new directory called the Verified Immigration Lawyers Directory. I've wanted to make a place where clients go to and make sure their attorney knows what they're doing. So I created a website called verifiedimmigrationlawyers.com. And to be on it, you have to be a good lawyer. You have to have proof of approvals, and we post them there so that people are aware of it. And members of the verifiedimmigrationlawyers.com directory also get access to a library of information and CLEs and everything that the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox has. So it's a great program, started at $50 a month right now to get a basic listings and show up in certain categories, like, maybe 10 of them, I can't remember exactly, but just email me and I could break down the whole program for you so you can see it. That website is verifiedimmigrationlawyers.com. And with that, let's get it started. Welcome to the Immigration Lawyers Podcast, a part of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, an education and marketing publication for the immigration law community that includes legal updates, interviews, discussions, education and CLE material, and more. Note that the information here is for general education only and not intended as individual legal advice. The laws change frequently, so you should consult with an attorney about your specific case. For more information, please visit immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Okay, so the last time we did this agency recap was December 29, 2020. And what a difference a year and a half makes, or maybe it doesn't. We have a new president, and we're going into this. There's been a lot of talk of immigration changes, but it's been a month now since he's been in office, and it's so far been mostly lip service. I'm not happy about that. It's still going to be a better trajectory than what we've been going through, but that's somewhat obnoxious. Now, I'm going through my timeline of things I've saved in order of timeline since December 29th. One of the first things was an ABA recording I did with two other colleagues, Jacob Zapochnik and Stephen Laddick. They're both famous immigration lawyers, and our moderator, the great Sarah Brunet, was moderating for ABA. And the program is called How Not to Be Underpaid, Retainer Best Practices, Client Management, and Setting Flat Fees. So I'm going to keep a link to that in the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube and on the podcast, it should be there. But I think it's something helpful for a lot of people to listen to. I just speak my mind, and usually people like that, not hiding information. All right, so next thing after that is Department of State expansion of interview waivers. So this was actually in Trump's time, where they wanted to expand the interview waivers because of the issues of people not being able to get interviews. They're saying previously only those applicants whose non-immigrant visa expired within 12 months were eligible for an interview waiver. The secretary has temporarily extended the expiration period to 24 months. This policy is in effect until March 31st, 2021. We'll see how that all works. It's not even in our hands to get these waivers of interviews. So, you hope for the best and that you hope that you get it. Now, things are getting pretty hardcore because of COVID. In that, one, you got to get testing if you go to a lot of countries and show your results are negative. So if you come to US or Canada, for example, you got to show that. That's a new rule in the US. The CDC announced, I think, February 5th, a week and a half ago, that you have to be cleared with a recent test in the last 72 hours. But also, outbound migration's got kind of crazy. If you go to Canada, you got to spend thousands of dollars to be in quarantine. You pay for it to be at a special location. And New Zealand as well, from clients I've talked to that have this issue. So if your clients are going to travel thinking it's an easy thing, be careful. Be careful. Speaking of traveling internationally, I had a colleague who posted who had a person that was married to a U.S. citizen, went to Puerto Rico and came back, and they got NTA'd there. Because keep in mind, there may be some CBP action there. So even though it's part of the U.S., you never know what's going to happen. I don't even like my cases where we have an adjustment case pending and they have advanced parole. It's like they haven't got the advanced parole yet. I don't want to go to Puerto Rico. And a rare case that the plane gets diverted and has to go to a third party country, and then they're out of status and they're stuck outside, maybe a 3 or 10 year bar kicks in. And the other end, you never know what you're going to deal with when you're dealing with an agent of DHS. So why even bother? Now, one really messed up thing is Trump tried to end the COVID ban for Europe and Brazil towards the end of his administration. But President Biden not only continued that, but he also added South Africa to that, which is a major pain. But Trump did expand the immigrant and non-immigrant bans until March 31st, 2021. So these bans still exist. Biden did come and take away the so-called Muslim ban, but embassies are mostly closed. COVID ban still affects Iran, which is now that Nigeria is part of it. Nigeria's probably a bigger country, but after Nigeria would have been Iran, the biggest person hit by these travel bans. And so people are still stuck outside doing, waiting for their interviews. And that's a constant thing I'm getting questions about. So it's something to watch out for. Now, I did a cool interview with our colleague Carl Schusterman, a well-known and old school attorney who's been in the game for a long time. Please check that out. The YouTube page for the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox has the video of this, because almost everybody listening to this listens on the podcast. It's like 20 to 1 or maybe 40 to 1, the ratio of people listening to this. Maybe more. It's probably like 100 to 1. Watch on video as opposed to audio. But I like having the video out there too, so you can catch that. And the clips I put up of these longer interviews, so you can have that. One is with Carl Schusterman, crucial role of immigrants in developing COVID vaccines, talking about how integral immigrants have been in creating the COVID-19 vaccines in Germany and the US, everywhere. So that's something you want to be mindful for. COVID-19, U.S. to extend non-essential travel ban with Canada and Mexico. This is a land border-based travel ban that exists. So if you want to come from Mexico or U.S. by land, unless it's essential services, they're not going to let you in. So be very careful of that. Now we have Barry Appleman Leiden, also known as BAL, is one of the big law firms in immigration, very, very powerful immigration group. They launched what they call the first of its kind immigration chatbot, which kind of may rub the wrong way of our colleague Jared Dascott, who created Yotango bot, which is probably the very first immigration chatbot. But you see the tech industry is booming in immigration. This is especially when Biden comes and says, who knows what's going to happen, but he says there's 11 million people he's going to legalize. Well, there's going to need to be technologists associated with this. So you're going to see all these M&As happening. And our colleague Roman Zelechenko wrote an intense article, very good article about 2020 and the mergers and acquisitions, the tech that's happening. Very important read there. I have a brief synopsis of these changes in the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine, one of the first articles. But you're going to see a lot of this technology coming in. It's going to affect how you run your office. So, I always say better be in front of it if you can. Try to absorb, learn this kind of stuff. It may take away from some earnings in your law firm. For example, you bill less from the client, so fees go down because of the fact that there's bots handling it and there's more competition, or other people can do it more efficiently. But that may give you more time to do other things like marketing or doing more higher value-added kind of legal work. So don't run from it, run towards it. These chat boxes are coming. It's a hard thing to do to create a chat box. I mean, people keep saying AI is going to come and take over. We're not God. It's not that easy to make a live thing that's going to understand and be able to answer properly. So it's still going to take a while to get something good, but the basics are going to be there. And so prepare yourself and maybe get involved with this. Jared Daskar, our colleague, does have a program. And he gets some sort of deal. I think he gives like normally a 30-day free trial of his Yotango bot, but if you reference the show, you get like 2 months or something like that. So that's something neat that he offers. We could see if it works for your office. And he created it first in Spanish. So if you have a lot of Spanish-speaking people contacting you, that software works out really good. Now, Liam Schwartz, a great colleague in Israel, says DSO, Department of State guidance on a new 6-month visa bond pilot program that began December 24th, ends on June 24th. So there's a new bond pilot program they're starting, which is you have to post bond if you're from a country that has a high overstay rate, and some other nuances to that. So people, and you're not inadmissible or 214B. There's a lot of different things about it, but these programs started during Trump, so who knows if they get a bond pilot program is going to happen. But honestly, you got to be real with this. Biden is a union candidate, and unions have historically for the last 100 years have not been the biggest pro-immigration group. And so don't expect the world of Biden that's going to happen. I just got to be real about it. I don't think these big changes are going to happen. I hope I'm wrong, both because we need immigration, both because it's great for business, but we'll see how that all goes. Our colleague, this is post from January 5th, but Cyrus Mehta, founder of managing partner of Cyrus C. Mehta and Partners, was looking at least for a new immigration attorney position. I think he's located in New York. So if you're interested in that, it's definitely a good place to kind of reach out to. I think it'll be interesting. Next, let's see. I have the article by our colleague Roman Zelechenko. It's called Immigration Tech in 2020. If you're not following Roman Zelechenko on LinkedIn, you're missing out. He's really has a vibrant page, a lot of information, a lot of things you can look at. Just watch his feed and see how he does it, and you can pick up his tricks of the trade to how to use LinkedIn. And he has a great program. He didn't ask me to mention this, but I'd be happy to. He has not only a great YouTube podcast kind of thing, GMI Rocket, which I watch myself. It's like honestly, of all the stuff, I don't have time to watch a lot of stuff, but I try to make time to watch Roman's YouTube and podcast because he does such a great job at the interviews. But he has a LinkedIn training program of sorts, which I'm going to do when I have time. These magazines, who knows when that's going to happen, but it is on my to-do list to take advantage of it, because he just lives, eats, and breathes LinkedIn, so he knows what he's talking about there. Now, USCIS will be publishing the final rule which prioritizes the H-1B lottery selection by wages process. I haven't been following this that closely because I don't do H-1B, but it seems like they're going forward, going backward. There's a lot of changes happening in the H-1B program. Obviously, they're going to have that two-pronged system where you have to put your name in the hat first, and then if you're chosen, then you do the rest of it. But a lot of the stuff that was happening with H-1B is getting pushed back both by the courts and the new administration. So we're going to see how that actually is going to play out. Now, January 2021 operating status update from U.S. Consulate Ciudad Juarez. So Ciudad Juarez is actually a Mexico U.S. consulate, is actually starting to do interviews for immigrant visas. I've had colleagues who got it, But as you can imagine, it's really backed up. They're doing interviews for people that started, had their interview dates like a year and a half ago, and they're doing on a limited basis. So, it's going to take a while for things to work their way out. It's such a headache when you have Silverwater's cases, because one is it takes forever to go there. Then secondly, you don't know what's going to happen at the interview. Are they going to come back and say, administrative processing, or, oh, denied, you need a waiver for some reason that's unexpected? It's such a difficult thing dealing with a high volume embassy like that. But on a somewhat of a bright note, my Los Angeles cases, which I filed pre February 24, 2020, which is pre-public charge coming into play. I had a mad dash because a lot of people contacted me. A lot of them were like, yeah, we're planning on getting married. I said, just if you're going to get married, if you were going to get married away, just get married now. Get the case in before public charge comes in. And we're getting the interviews on these cases now scheduled for February. So that's something to be mindful for. I'm getting the interviews both in Phoenix, Arizona. It's happening in Los Angeles. These were the cities I had these kind of cases pop up. It might be different for different locations. One of them actually out of New York, one that hasn't come up yet, but that one's kind of certain issues popping up because the governors make a lot of mistakes on that one. So that's the reason for that. The person was in Phoenix, actually moved to New York, and they keep scheduling them for Phoenix. And I keep saying, hey, they're not in Phoenix anymore, in New York. So it keeps rescheduling 3 times in Phoenix, but it's eventually going to be a New York case. But that's a mess. And, as a side note, if you're listening this far into it, different field offices have community outreach liaisons, which is USCIS, revamped. They create these liaisons, and they do a great job at being able to help you on a case. So when this issue happened, I first called the USCIS, they canceled, got rescheduled. Then I mailed them, they fixed it. And then I contacted the liaison, which is by email. It's much easier than calling because the delays for that. And by mailing, because you never know who to mail to, if it's going to go through. And each office is different. Like San Jose wants you to fax stuff in. LA won't even answer emails. If you call it in, who knows if they get the letters. But these liaisons are really easy to communicate with, and they're responsive by email. And you can find their email addresses for different field office districts online. And that's the tip of the day. Use them definitely. I had a colleague who got an incorrect denial, which was just ludicrously incorrect. And he contacted him at that district. And within like a couple of days, they fixed the issue. So that's how I learned about it. These district field office liaisons could work some magic. So that's definitely something to keep in your toolkit that becomes very important. Okay, so we had a note. A colleague of ours posted in one of these groups that they had a client who was an ESTA, and they booked a flight. And once they booked a flight, they got a notice that their ESTA was voided. So I was like, that's kind of crazy. Now, it doesn't happen to everybody. It just happened in that case. So I wanted to give a shout out to just in case you be mindful of that kind of stuff. Now, we have another job posting, Calderon Segun in Fairfax, Virginia, looking for a full-time associate in that office. So that's definitely somebody to go for. You can always follow us on our LinkedIn page. That's where I post these the most. So job postings go there as they come up. I see my posts and help colleagues. There's also a private Facebook page for the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. If you have to be a practicing private practice immigration lawyer, join that one. And certain videos and stuff that I can't put out or don't want to put out, I put there. But for the most part, the LinkedIn page has a lot of this info, especially if you're looking for a job, looking to do a lateral or just whatever. That's one place to go. Now, we got a Board of Immigration Appeals decision out of OMO. It says an immigration judge may find a document to be fraudulent without forensic analysis or other expert testimony, where the document contains obvious defects or readily identifiable hallmarks of fraud, and the party submitting the document is given an opportunity to explain defects. Well, that's no fun, but we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. That's going to be interesting. If how much Biden is going to, move around the Board of Immigration Appeals, how that's going to happen, what's going to happen with the AEO, because there's some major changes that was going to happen there with Trump too. We'll see. These appeal systems, they really need some work. Now, one thing I've always talked about a lot in my videos you've been recording, you've seen, is I talk about TPS and the inconsistency of how it's decided whether TPS is admission or not. I think a new circuit court, 8th maybe said, or 5th or 8th said, no, TPS is not admission. However, on January 9th, the Supreme Court said that they are going to review this decision because of the split in the circuits. So we're praying that it goes somewhere positive our way, that TPS is found to be admission, and we could use that. But we'll see. We'll see. You never know. Sometimes I'll say you got to be careful what you wish for. Maybe it's better. I'm in the Ninth Circuit. Most of my TPS cases are over here, the few that I have. So it's like if it works, it works. People in Texas or Florida, wherever, they can't use that. Just move around over here for a time being and file that adjustment case. But that's something that's there. All right. So all right, we have a posting. Dilnaz Salim, partner at Immigration Attorneys at Mellon Jacobs, says we have some exciting opportunities at Mellon Jacobs. We'd love to talk with immigration attorneys who want to make a career move. So Mellon Jacobs in San Diego, California, hiring immigration lawyers. A lot of work in immigration space and a lot of people preparing to see what's happening. Now, the High Court nixes the Ninth Circuit rule on asylum seekers' bond hearings. I didn't read all that. I'm going to kind of skip it, but be mindful if you have asylum cases and there's bond hearing situations. The Ninth Circuit ruling, I think they said asylum holders have to be able to seek bond or get a bond hearing or something like that. Though that's been undone, but check that out. And that's that. FAM has updated its guidance regarding pregnant visa applicants. In the section titled, and thanks to Liam Shorts for this, travel to give birth in the United States, DOS clarifies that birth tourism is not a legitimate activity under the B visa classification. And so that's really important. And it always comes up now, even whenever you have a client who has a child in the United States as a tourist visa holder, it's very important you question about the whole situation and have evidence that they didn't come with that intent, but it changed. But also very importantly, for the rest of their lives, whenever they're coming into the United States, they have to keep evidence that they paid for the medical services, the hospital services themselves. Because the next time they come in CBP, maybe 5 or 10, the child maybe 10 years old, U.S. citizen comes, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, your child's a U.S. citizen, but you're a tourist visa holder. Oh, you came here probably on a tourist visa, had that, unless you're on like an H or something like that. And they'll say, oh, okay, well, show us proof that you paid for the medical services when you came during that trip. And if you can't, they might give you voluntary departure. I've seen that happen. I've had people call me, they got voluntary departure because CBP made that finding. So it's a mess. And so that's one of the main questions you ask. You have to keep an eye out if they had kids in the United States on a tourist visa. And this is before all this kind of stuff. They'll go back to it. It's not just new birth tourism, it's previous ones. It's a serious issue because there's a lot of these groups that take advantage. Frankly, they'll come as part of these tours and they teach them how to get free benefits, medical wise, have the kid here and leave. And who wouldn't want to have a kid in the United States with the benefits that come with it? But it's not fair to just come here and it's not fair to come here and just take the free medical services when other people need that. But that's just the way of the world. But be mindful when you're advising clients of that situation. Acting DHS chief Chad Wolf, the previous one, stepped down after 14 months, and what a tenure he had. We have Mayorkas, new person coming in. We'll see how Mayorkas is going to deal with stuff. It just sworn in. Oh, great news. Hallelujah. USCIS said they're going to replace the sticker system they have for renewal of green cards. So, when you file an I-90, you get a biometrics notice when you're renewing your green card. You show up at the ASC biometrics center. What is it? I always forget what AC stands for. A service center. A service center. Say ASC stands for A service center. But anyways, when they do the fingerprinting and the photos, they usually will put a sticker on your green card that acts as an extension. USCIS, thankfully, thank God, said, you know what? From January on, because they know the delays that are happening on I-90s, which is kind of weird. I have an I-90 approved recently in like 45 days. Another one's pending 6 months. And it's just, there's no reason for that, but it just happens. But they said when you get the I-797 receipt notice, very much like the form I-751 receipt notice, you get an automatic extension. And so what is the extension? I'm trying to look at the rules again. It says, starting January, applicants are filed, replace, blah, blah, blah. And they say you'll get a receipt notice in the mail approximately 7 to 10 days later. And not really. It's taking like 3 or 4 months to get receipt notices at this point. But they'll say, where's the extension timeline that says? Okay, 12 months extension. So that's really important. But it kind of shows where they're going. They want to drag the I-90 extensions out because if they're saying they're giving an automatic extension for 12 months, they're not people, USC doesn't give out stuff for free or easily. So that that's something that they're going to be dragging and expect delays in I-90 from what they're saying there. Another law job, immigration staff attorney at NMILC. What does that stand for? Which organization is that? I think it's a pro bono group. The New Mexican Immigrant Law Center, NMILC, at Nancy Mary, New Mexico. They're looking for a job opening for staff attorney. crimes and victims program, staff attorney, economic justice program, but it's all immigration kind of stuff. So that's a neat place to go check it out, especially if you are in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So they need immigration there as well. Breaking news. Department of Labor, Labor Department hikes wages for high school work visas. I think that was pushed back. So that's a news story from January 12th. I think they pushed that back, the hike that happened. Perm labor certificate update. So not getting to perm H-1B kind of stuff, but be mindful of the back and forth on that kind of stuff. It's a mess. Next, Attorney General decision matter of AB. So the whole matter of AB back and forth about persecution and stuff like that. I'm not going into that either. But that mess is going back and forth, matter of AB. New ICE unit to review OPT program impact on the U.S. worker. So they're paying money to make an ICE unit and review the OPT program. So, if you didn't catch the podcast that I did that went over the Ombudsman's 2020 report, I definitely recommend reading it and watching it. It was a lot of information that's helpful. Just a couple episodes back. Let me see if I can find what it was actually. Control F, OMB, Command F out of a Mac. Okay, it's episode 163, review of the 2020 Ombudsman's report. And what was interesting is, the student visa program really ballooned, especially the OPT program, which is unexpected. And when it comes down to it, the number of agents they have per region, per school is minuscule, because I can't remember the stats exactly, but I'm just throwing random numbers, give you an effect. It's like every 3,000, every 5,000 students as one agent for the government, that goes to watch out for that. So the number of people using the F1 system and OPT system and that deal with CVIS, so all these schools have an agent of ICE that they have to deal with, there's not enough people to even check to know what's going on in that system. So that's a huge mess right there. And the numbers are crazy. The OPT STEM jobs have gone like hockey puck up. So it's pretty wild. Now, it's interesting. In January 1920, USCIS closed down all in-person and suspended all in-person stuff. That was a while ago, but out of fear for what was going to happen for federal buildings, I guess, in light of the whole election, everything. So that was something that happened. Cyrus Mehta wrote a blog on my views on the new rules, strange and practical requirements for both the employer and vendor company to file multiple H-1B petitions. So a lot of stuff's happening H-1B back and forth. I'm not going to get to it here. I'll probably have to get a specialist to talk about it, but be mindful if you do that kind of business. Now, Japan will suspend the business track and residence track travel framework for all countries, regions covered by it until a state of emergency is lifted. So when you think about how strict immigration is in the United States, Japan is not open to it at all. Now, our colleague Jeannie Doi was talking in an interview about how easy it was for her as a spouse of a Japanese person to get a visa and do it all herself. That may be the case. Spouses there, they make things easier. I wish it was easier for us too. But in general, that's one society that's not really down with immigration. And so we got to be very thankful what we have here. The DHS has signed unusual agreements with states that could hamper Biden's future immigration policy. So right before Trump was leaving, DHS was signing agreements with states to give them authority to pick and choose immigration laws. And we're going to see what's going to happen with that one. Probably going to be some federal court, Supreme Court stuff popping out of that craziness, out of that wild craziness right there. But unfortunately, Biden rejected Trump's push to lift the COVID restrictions on European travel, Brazilian travel. China, Iran are staying there, but UK, Ireland. And that's a mess because you have so many cases, people with O visas, people with, tourist needs that have got to come here, families that are separated, spouses of green card holders. It's so unfortunate that these are, separated. Now, Hernandez and Associates, what they say is a proudly Latina-owned and operated law firm in Denver, Colorado, looking for an associate. That's they do also criminal defense, but that's something to jump into if you're interested. This is Hernandez and Associates in Colorado. Okay, memorandum on deferred enforcement departure for certain Venezuelans, DED. So Venezuelans got this special stuff where they got deferred enforcement departure if they're here. I think it's like TPS light or something. I haven't read into it. That's something the White House did put out. I think they put out during Trump's time. I was right at when Biden came in. All right, so Catholic Charities Legal Network, it's Catholic Legal Immigration Network, Inc. or Clinic, put out a press release. Federal courts block dramatic immigration court fee increases. So immigration court fee increases are going to be crazy, even more crazy than USCIS fees increases. But that was put on hold because of the courts making that decision. Let's see, regulatory freeze pending White House. So they're freezing regulations. They're going to look at it. We'll see what happens. Oh, another law posting from one of the people on the cover of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine, Jeff Joseph and his firm, Joseph and Hall, three partners, great attorneys, really well known in the news. They're looking for a Spanish-speaking immigration lawyer, 2 years of education or experience in immigration preferred. They're located in Colorado, great firm, doing some big stuff, really groundbreaking kind of work. So that's another Colorado posting. A lot of work in Colorado, a lot of work in San Diego, a lot of immigration, a lot of jobs out there. So be mindful of that. Now, Robert Weber, if you're not following Robert Weber on LinkedIn, you should. He's got one of the best LinkedIn posts every day. Interesting, just interesting stuff. I love reading his stuff when it pops up. It's definitely a must read. He posted an article and put some quotes on it about Indian corporation pays record amount to settle allegations of systematic visa fraud and abuse. In October 2030, Infosys paid $34 million to settle allegations of U.S. immigration violations. Okay, in it, Infosys submitted, among the allegations, Infosys submitted invitation letters to U.S. consular officials that contained false statements regarding the true purpose of a B-1 visa holder's travel in order to deceive U.S. consular officials and secure entry of the visa holder into the United States. These letters often stated that the purpose of travel was for meetings or discussions when the true purpose was to engage in activities not authorized under a B-1 visa. Infosys directed B-1 visa holders to deceive U.S. consular officials, including specific instructions to avoid certain terminology. Infosys created a do's and don'ts memorandum that it provided to foreign nationals entering the United States on a B-1 that included the following: do not mention activity like implementation, design, and testing, consulting, etc., which sound like work, and also do not use words like work, activity, etc. in the invitation letter. And please do not mention anything about contract rates. And they're still doing H-1Bs and eating up most of the H-1Bs. So that's Infosys for you. You make enough money off doing something, you get away with a lot. But they're one of the biggest H-1B petitioners. All right, so corrupt ex-CBP officer from Nogales gets 2.5 years in prison. What did this corrupt officer do? So there was a CBP officer in Nogales that said sentenced 30 months for taking $6,000 bribe to allow a previously deported felon to enter the United States through a local port. That's not good. I mean, that's not good at all. Texas Attorney General threatens DHS over 100-day deportation pause. I think that threat went to court, in federal court later on. That's an article from January 22nd, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the court did put on hold a moratorium on removal. Japan court upholds ban on dual citizenship. So that's something that's really interesting. So many countries don't allow dual citizenship. Germany, India, China, Japan. And, Brazil, I made a mistake of saying Brazil doesn't. Brazil has a program where they say if the other country accepts dual nationality, we accept it too. If they don't, we don't as well. But U.S., it's open, this kind of stuff. And Japan, again, I was talking earlier about, their ideas about immigration that kind of goes to it. You're either with them or not, I guess. You're one of them or you're not. All right, DHS statement on the suspension of new enrollments in the Migrant Protection Programs, MPP, which is not something I fully get into at all, which I'm not going to get to here. They're trying to take that away. I think it's the whole border situation, people appearing at the border, but we'll see. Visa Bulletin released for February 2020. Employment must use final action date. U.S. declares Cuba a state sponsor of terrorism, which has all sorts of other connotations to it. Be careful. USCIS EB-5 general. So USCIS did if you're an EB-5 attorney, they did a general Q&A session where they went to a lot of information. If you do EB-5, that's something to read. USCIS EB-5 general questions and answers is the title of that. And a federal judge appointed by Donald Trump strikes down Biden's 100-day deportation moratorium. Biden administration replaces top immigration court official. Some CBP ports no longer issuing NIE after last executive order. Okay, so there is an update to the executive order that happened once Trump came. When Biden came, because what happened is the executive orders from Trump kind of go away because a new president comes in, and a new president starts, if he wants to continuing those, has to re-release this kind of stuff. And we're seeing that in the student visa area where Trump said, European student visa holders could come without a ban or getting NIE exceptions, but others can, blah, blah. Biden put this in, and apparently in the wording of it, CBP at many ports took it as if they lost the ability to make a first decision on that. So, for example, at LAX, where you could directly file for non-immigrant, whatever the waiver exemption is on this COVID ban, they said you no longer can apply directly with us. You need to have it denied by the embassy first, and if it's denied by them, then you could ask us, which sucks. It creates extra layer of work and time and delay, but that's what we're dealing with. Another Board of Immigration Appeals decision, the BIA issued matter of HLSA. Individuals who cooperate with law enforcement may constitute a valid particular social group under the INA if their cooperation is public in nature, which is like, what? Particular testimony was given in public court proceedings, and the evidence in the record reflects that the society in question recognizes and provides protection for such cooperation. Well, that's a higher standard. Oh, this is important. USCIS extends flexibility of responding for agency requests. So, you know, the COVID extensions, they give a lot of times 60 days extra for RFEs and the like. Go to uscis.gov to get the exact terminology. But that's been extended. I think it's till end of March at least, and maybe more after that. It's extended through March 31st, 2021. So that's a good little help to have. All right, reaching the end of January, another job hiring. DC-based immigration team hiring for multiple position, huntonac.com. That's the website. This is Hunton Andrews Kurth or huntonac.com, located in what did it say, DC. So, you know, Colorado, DC, Virginia area have a lot of immigration jobs popping up. UAE adopts amendments to grant citizenship to investors and other professionals. UAE is kind of an area that was strict about, a country that was strict about immigration and citizenship. They're making some special exceptions right there. DC Circuit lifts block on migrant children expulsion policy. DHS extends protected status for Syria in the US, so be mindful of that. TPS extended for Syria. Canada suspends all flights to Mexico and the Caribbean, or some people say Caribbean. Now, the visa reciprocity chart that lists the police records for Canada was changed. Before, one of the main changes was under the alternative documents for police reports, they wrote there are no alternative documents. A new one says alternative documents, criminal record check for personal use. So a criminal record check for personal use can be an alternate document for police certificates from Canada. Another clinic publishing, they say federal court enjoined much of them. Oh, that's another. I posted the same thing twice. You know, you probably caught this. You catch these in episode 170. Wait a minute. What episode number are we at right now? We're 170. Oh, it's episode 171. I don't know if I said that earlier, but 170, the previous one, Kevin Gregg, great colleague, talks about immigration federal decisions, NBI decisions. So check out his podcast. It's called Migration Review. I hope I'm not butchering his podcast. And actually, in the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine, I have a page with the top 10 immigration podcasts that are updated regularly and the most popular. So if you're interested in this, you know, go and check out colleagues. You rarely find people that kind of uplift their competition, but I think that's the thing about the immigration bar. It's different. It's wildly different in business model even of the other ones, especially the way I do it. So check out theirs podcast, and Immigration Review is one of the good ones that really goes into analysis of federal court decisions, which you got to be up on, especially if you're doing asylum, if you're doing immigration, if you're doing people who have court issues. That stuff changes on a second-by-second basis. All right, so let's next. We got Biden administration faces backlog of 380,000 immigrants waiting to immigrate. Whew, that's going to take a while. You know, you got to think about it. If Biden says we're going to legalize 11 million people, who knows if that's going to happen? But if it did, how is DHS going to handle that number without everything imploding? So I don't know how that would work out. Effective immediately, USCIS rescinds policy memo 60201, rescission of this is guidance memo on H-1B computer-related positions. Oh, the 2000 guidance on H-1B computer-related positions rescinded. So that's why it goes. Like I think H-1B kind of stuff I was talking about. CBP to comply with presidential executive order requiring face masks at ports. Okay, that's something. USCIS fiscal year 2022 H-1B cap initial registration period opens March 9th. Be aware of that. Oh, more immigration law jobs, this time in Sydney, Australia. Ajuria Lawyers is looking for an immigration attorney, Sydney, Australia. Another one, this is international. Vancouver, Canada, Ernst & Young is looking for an immigration attorney at their Vancouver office. You're going to deal with some volume there and a lot of business space volume, but you know, you could even get a TN. Be mindful, if you're a U.S. immigration attorney, lawyers, you're a U.S. citizen, they got the TN program for Canada going the other way too. You could go and work as a TN in Canada and work for Ernst & Young. I prefer you work for a small solo firm. That's the way I like to do it. But hey, you know, Ernst & Young's got to do it too. So that's one place you do it, both in Australia and Canada. The global boom on immigration jobs is happening. That's why it's perfect timing for the Immigration Arts Toolbox for you to get into it, read it. And if you want to be a contributor, just email me with a topic that you have, and we'll try to get it. If it's a good topic and you write so well, we'll get it in there. I think it's gonna help a lot of people and push your name, promote your name, because there's a lot of business to be had, and you really have to work on marketing your name, having this brand. Once you have your article published in my magazine or other places, post on Avo, that'll boost you at 0.5 point to a whole point up. There's all these different marketing things you do. Don't lose track of it. This year's going to be big. Next year's going to be big. So stay on top of it. Harvard Sunstein. Okay, so Cass Sunstein was this one guy who wrote this book called Nudge or something like that. And he's a guy, he's from Harvard. And you got to understand how people from Harvard think. They look at the general population, and it is what it is. They look at general population as if almost a farm, where they're like a farmer or rancher and they're just herding people around. And Cass Sunstein, one of the biggest people on this. And so he views things in large numbers, like how can we manipulate the population to go in the direction we want? That's his life, like, and PhD dissertation and everything he does. And so he, under Obama's time, is always thinking, how can we nudge people and make them think that they're doing something actively themselves, but really pushing him through different, pulling different things, levers and stuff like that, to knowing he's joining Biden's DHS team to shape immigration rules. So we'll see what that means and how that plays out. Potentially we won't, because we'll never see behind the scenes how he's doing it in this kind of position. But we've got Cass Sunstein shaping immigration rules. That's a big deal. And so we'll see how that actually plays out. Cass Sunstein, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to talk about that character anymore, but we're going to see some major changes in immigration if that guy's spending his time on immigration policy. Jonathan Wasden, a frequent guest on the show, partner at Wasden Banis, says court battle against USCIS intentional H4 delays continue. It's so crazy, H4. Like, I have L2s too. I have an L2. The L1's approved last year. Just got the biometrics after 1 year for an L2 and no EAD yet. It's just so ridiculous. We should sue. They have the money for it too. We should sue them. Diversity visa winners losing chance to immigrate. Diversity visa, Biden is pushing back. That's crazy. Curtis Morrison, the lead attorney suing all this stuff. I gotta have him on the show, but follow his Twitter feed. He talks about it a lot. But Biden administration is not dropping a lot of these cases. It's still pushing them. DHS plan to photograph all travelers' faces. Public scrutiny. So DHS wants to photograph everyone who's coming and going in the U.S. That's a kind of a mess. Florian Donny, a colleague, posted this email that got exchanged from the U.S. Embassy in Paris. It's particularly by e-visas, but others. And a colleague, I'm sure, shared it with me. I have a shortened version of it here on LinkedIn. But they say that due to the continuing pandemic, U.S. Embassy in Paris is taking further protections of its employees, including reducing the number of employees in the office and the number of applicants in the waiting rooms, to expect delays for e-visa applicants and reduce appointment times. But in general, they make a point that, tell your clients that apparently a lot of people are going to the U.S. Embassy in France because their visa expired, not their I-94, their visa, and they mistakenly think that they have to go back and get a new visa. And once they leave, then they're subject to a travel ban. They're stuck. And there's apparently it's happening enough. But the U.S. Embassy said, please tell your clients, don't do that. You're hurting yourself. And these people must have lawyers. They don't communicate with the lawyers, maybe. Who knows what's going on? But that's such a mistake, such a big mistake. The misunderstanding about visas versus I-94 it's just so confusing for regular people. Migrant youth can seek work permits under special status. So SIGIS, a court said SIGIS can do work visas. Let me see what circuit that was for those in that area that could get help. A Missouri federal judge said a trio of Guatemala migrant youth temporarily admitted under the special immigration juvenile status can seek work permits. So that's something that's going to be helpful for a lot of those who are poor young people and need to get some jobs. Feds charge youth soccer executive probe and visa practices. So we're reaching the end. So I'll read that a little bit. Immigration facing deportation wait twice as long as fiscal year 2021 compared to 2022. Track, a great organization. We interviewed with them, one of their founders. Backlog for removal has gotten crazy. Another law job, heads up to my U.S. colleagues. We're recruiting in Toronto. This is EY. So Ernst & Young, not only in Vancouver, but also in Toronto. Ernst & Young is trying to take over the immigration game. And so they're using their Canada offices to do that. That's why you see, big firms like Fragment going to technology expansion, because that's their bread and butter, that kind of high volume. So be prepared, especially if states start opening up the bar. Because the reason why they're pushing this stuff in Canada is because Canada, U.S. immigration could practice there with a firm, like accounting firm. But if these accounting firms could start encroaching and getting into immigration law, these kind of national practices, woo-wee, it's going to be a wild ride. It's probably going to happen. It's going to happen pretty soon. And they're getting the business. Look, they're posting jobs for Vancouver and Toronto. Pretty soon, it's going to be happening in your neck of the woods. So feds charge youth soccer executive Proba Visa. Apparently, the charging document cites 3 other individuals, Global Premier's former CEO, a former human resources staffer, and the company's immigration lawyer. Who's the lawyer? Let me see if it has a name. This is legal, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't want to call that a name, but apparently they're doing some sort of O&P shenanigans to get people here. And so that was caught. P1. That was a P1 scam. So this kind of stuff happening all the time. It is something that happens all the time. All right. So thank you so much for everyone who's been listening. Let's see. Let's remind people, Immigration Lawyers Magazine, must read. Please read it. Go do it. Support our sponsors. It really helps because it takes a lot of work. You'd be surprised. It took my whole January just working on this magazine. I can't believe how long it took. So please support it. And let's try to get some more sponsors on there to make it worthwhile to continue, because I really think there's something special we could do to promote education. And a lot of people can't get on AILA panels. It's like it's some sort of network and it's hard to get on there. But, this is another place where people could go and show that they're good immigration attorneys and share their information and help it. AILA membership is a must. Go in the programs are a must. But, it is what it is. I don't want to talk more about that, but this is a great effort. If I could get more magazine issues out, we get more and more of you to get your name out there so you get more business and show people what's going on and help, share that information, because we're going to have a lot of new people acting immigration law. We're going to have a lot of new notarios, people doing immigration law practice illegally. I hate that. It's not good, but hopefully this will be a resource I can read. And if they're going to do unauthorized practice of immigration law, which I don't like, and I hope it's caught, at least they're going to know how to do it properly so they don't screw the clients. Because the first thing is do no harm. It's not like doctors. Immigration lawyers are doctors, essentially, in my opinion. And so if these people are going to be, doing back alley kind of stuff that immigration lawyers should be doing, then let them have information to change. But more importantly, it's really for us. So we learn this stuff. So many people are going to be coming from other areas of law to do immigration law once this happens. And so why not have a place where they could get the education in a great place? AILA is there, but I think I could do it better. So, and you could do it better. So that's why I'm saying it's an open forum where we can get this together. Just email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. If you are looking for a hardcore class to get the basics of immigration law, the marriage case, just email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox for the Champions for Freedom program. The verified immigration lawyers directory is out there. Can contact me about getting listed on that and a lot more. Leave a 5-star review, please. It's going to help the program out a lot. And with that, thank you all so much. Is there anything I'm forgetting? I don't know, but maybe not. But I'll be back. I have to put out a bunch of new podcasts because in January, I just did not have the time. Thanks again for listening. God bless everyone. Be safe. Good night. Thank you for listening to the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. The Immigration Lawyers Podcast is a part of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, a training and marketing program for immigration lawyers. For more information about that, please email us at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Also, you can find more information and updates on the LinkedIn page for the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, as well as a private Facebook group for practicing immigration lawyers. You can email me for information about that as well. And also the Twitter page is a great place for updates. Until next one, have a good one.